bookings, and it's my agent going, oh, Beth, this was a time where I was not working. He said, Beth, I have a job offer for you. I'm like, a job offer? An offer, I'll take it. I don't care what it is. He said, it's to play the drowsy chaperone in the drowsy chaperone. And I said, nope, didn't get that. You have your wires crossed, misinformation. So I made him call the casting director back. And so he called me back in like 30 seconds and said, no, you have been cast as the drowsy chaperone. You leave for a 3-month out-of-town tryout in Los Angeles. Pack your bags. And this was right around Christmas, so I just remember yelling at my kids, yeah, Mama's going to Los Angeles at Christmas.
Why were you stuttering only for that one sentence?
It's funny. If I may, the rest is history. He goes with me everywhere. Kidding.
Not necessarily. Bring it to Theater by the Sea in Rhode Island. Beth, before I hang up with you, Melissa, any questions for 21?
Yeah, do you just spin that all the time? Because I would.
People don't, yeah, this was like the shorter version. I think later now it's a taller, skinny one, but
That'll be for your next for Devil Wears Prada. What? Anywho, thank you, Level. We love you. We'll see you soon. Why do you look so young? Bye! There they are. I love that I'm cooking. Hi, Liz. I hope you didn't hear anything I said to introduce you. Did you?
I heard some very mean things. So that's just kind of the norm. Did you mention that I call you the brother I never wanted?
I would never say that in public. Okay, I became obsessed with Liz Calloway because she was on this, I think it was, no, maybe I heard Baby first, I was obsessed with that, but then she was on an evening, like that Stephen Sondheim album, remember that? We sings about Water on You? Oh my God, it's so good. And now...
Yeah, it's actually before Baby.
It was?
Yes.
Oh, of course, because, oh, you know what? I was telling everybody, I want people to tell like my favorite stories about them. Please talk about how you got Merrily and then how you got sort of the actor's dream and the actor's nightmare, which is 2 different offers at the exact same time. I'm obsessed with that.
Okay, so I was originally hired as the female swing for Merrily, which I...
What's a swing for those that are not BroadwayCon savvy?
That means that you cover. You're not actually in the show, but I was to understudy 12 other women's parts.
12?
12, yes. And everyone had different choreography. It was very, very hard. It was very, very hard. And about 2 weeks into rehearsal, I got a call to audition for a leading role in a new musical at the Public Theater called Gallery. And this had musical lyrics by Ed Cleban. Seth, you can tell.
Ed Cleban wrote the lyrics to A Chorus Line, and you may also know his musical lyrics because he wrote the musical lyrics obviously for a class act. So A Chorus Line was like the hugest hit in the world. So to be cast in that show is a cool.
Oh my God, yes. And the director of the show was Richard Mulvey. And I had a job already, obviously, with Merrily, but I thought, I thought it was good to have experience auditioning for other shows. So I went down on my lunch break and I auditioned and I got it. I got the leading role, or one of the leading roles.
You were in the Gallery, right? Cool.
That's how it is. But it was happening at the same time as Merrily. So it was like the Sophie's Choice of musical theater.
Exactly.
What do I do? And Hal Prince found out about this, and he said that if I stayed with Merrily, he would put me in the chorus, and I could understudy the female lead.
So you wouldn't be an offstage swing anymore, you'd actually be in the show.
I would actually be in the show, but everyone told me that I'd be crazy if I didn't take the leading role in this show that had so much buzz around it, and I was agonizing so much over this decision. And then I told Joanne Merlin, the casting director of Merrily, about this because I felt like everyone was so mad at me. Everyone was just irritated with me. And she told me it was the best advice I ever got, that I needed to follow my gut and just do what I thought was right. And my gut told me to stay with Merrily. And boy, did I make the right decision, because Gallery never opened. It only ran for 2 weeks.
Hey, you're hilarious. hilarious. And B, Liz is immortalized in the album, which was made the day after it closed. Liz, would you sing your song from Merrily We Roll Along?
Oh my God, I'm not warmed up, but I will do my best.
You have 5 minutes, right? Let's sit back and relax.
Yesterday's done, see the pretty countryside. There's more. How did you get there from here, Mr. Shepherd? Broadway, come on.
Thank you for being here.
I must ask Liz Calloway, Liz, you really amazingly got to work with Sondheim. Like, literally, people don't know, when one of the cool things is Annie Morrison, who played Mary, wanted to save her voice because they were making changes. So they would be running the show, putting in changes during the day, and then Annie would, perform at night. But during the day, when she was running the show and not singing, Liz would sit in the audience singing the entire role of Mary Flynn. And who was eavesdropping on your amazing singing?
That would be Mr. Sondheim.
And
I sat in the front row and sang her songs because she had gotten sick and she never missed a show. And it didn't occur to me until years later, because I often thought, after Merrily, the next thing I did with him was a Stephen Sondheim evening that you were talking about with What More Do I Need? And I thought, well, why was I able to do this stuff? Because really, those are my 2 lines that I did in Merrily. I thought, how did he even know I could sing? Because I only sang like 32 bars of Be a Lion in my audition. That was all I ever did for that show. And I went, oh, wait a minute, he heard me sing,
The entire score, every single every day.
Entire score, I do look back at that decision I made to stay with Merrily, and seriously, I can't even imagine what my life would have been like if I hadn't.
Well, I'm going to get in touch with you because I only like stars. Also, Liz.
because I mentioned that Richard Maltby, who was directing Gallery, who was not very happy with me for not doing the show, but then he did hire me for Baby. He was the director of Liz.
Well, it's the most amazing cast album. She closed off Act 1 with that. The story goes on. Wait, let's before I forget, speaking of Sondheim, please God, I know you did a show at 54 Below that was dedicated to Sondheim. Was it recorded? Was it recorded live? What's the deal with it? What's happening? Go.
Well, it's funny you should say
No, talk about it. There's a lot of people here.
We also have this.
My book? How kind of you.
My book, which, by the way, I'm very happy you mentioned me, I think 3 or 4 times, and very nicely, I'll add, too.
I know, my editor made me take all the mean
It's
stuff.
got a mark about mixing instead of my high belting.
Can you please come?
Seriously, I did make I did this after Sondheim passed. I felt a huge need to want to pay tribute to him, so I put together a show at 54 Below called To Steam with Love, and the response was so amazing, and people were like, you have to record this. So I went back and I made a live album of it, which has been doing great, and I've been doing the show all over the place, all over the country and London. I'm going to be doing it in Madrid this fall.
Holy cow!
So if anyone is interested, you can stream it or download it or get it, on my website or Amazon. I'd love people, to hear the album.
First of all, be in Madrid this fall on my cruise, so A, I want to see it. B, hold up the album so we can see what it actually is. What's it called? Oh, it's just...
Love Liz Calloway celebrates Sondheim, and it's pretty cool. It also has a 16-page booklet with photos and stories, and the album is also it's 18 songs and lots of stories, and I'm very proud of it.
Girl, you were there. She was there for Merrily. Isn't it crazy that Merrily now is a huge hit? So when you did it was 2 weeks, and now it's like sold out and it's been extended.
Well, that's what I sometimes think. I don't know what would have happened if we hadn't recorded the cast album.
Right.
Because, Merrily was, people were just so mean about it when it opened. I think by the time it was a work in progress, but by the time we opened, we made so many changes. I thought we had solved it. We all thought we had solved it, and then it was, it was not well received.
People would walk out during the show. Now they're clamoring to get tickets.
And then at the morning after we closed, we met and for 18 hours And then over the years, people are like, oh my God, this is the greatest score, and everyone loves it. And so now that, it's Merrily is sort of everywhere, and the fact that people love the show and it's finally going to be on Broadway again is amazing.
Have you seen that production yet?
I did, yeah. I saw it with some of my Merrily castmates.
Oh my God, were you wearing your show jackets? Were you wearing your show jackets? I must know.
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
Like a varsity jacket.
I don't think we ran long enough to have show
Oh,
jackets.
sorry.
But I do still have my dead body stole. House was cut before we all worked.
Okay, that's theft. Anywho, Liz, I have more people awaiting, but I can't wait to get your album. And do we have any concerts coming up? No, I guess we don't, but I love working with Liz. She's amazing. Go to her website, Liz Calloway, it's all A's, Calloway. And especially look up her more talented sister, Anne Hanson Calloway. Thank you, Liz. Nothing, bye. Okay, we're gonna ban for a minute because they want to turn off the giving away the.
Spoiler alert.
Yes. So I will do. Anyone in the audience, do you have a particular story you want to hear a fun story about? Just yell out a name and I'll tell you a fun story. Jeremy Jordan. Okay. Jeremy Jordan. I'll just say he moved to New York City. Like most of us, he needed a day job, so he applied to be a waiter. And he had all these restaurants that he'd been a waiter in. So his resume had like 7 different restaurants. And he'd give it, and he had actually never been a waiter. He looked up, he's from Corpus Christi, he looked up in Corpus Christi what restaurants had closed, and he wrote them down, so if anyone called for reference, he'd be like, the number you have reached. So he was able to lie about it and not be revealed. So he, like Liz Calloway, is a criminal. Anybody else? Alright, so this is the lip sync queen of BroadwayCon. Please welcome Andrew to the Barth, to the Feldman, from Harvard.
This is the first BroadwayCon you've missed. We're so sad.
I feel like I know we're in the thick of Rent right now. It's very exciting, but I'm happy to be here on the Blizzard Party Line, which I was, of course, in the audience for the inaugural necessary version of.
Wait, first of all, I do have a very important question. Is that the same half talking? Wait, what do you mean? Wait, you're doing the show Rent right now and I don't know about it? Is that what you just said? Oh,
we're doing Rent in concert at the Kennedy Center. We just started we just started on Friday, and we had our last rehearsal in New York today. It's been like 8-hour long days of singing Rent, and I am so tired, and it's so great.
Wait, go back. Too many comments. Okay, first of all, it's literally a 8-person band, so the symphony, everyone just sits there with their instruments in their lap, and then 8 people play.
It's the whole kind of purpose of it is these new incredible orchestrations that this gentleman has written. It's a 69-piece orchestra that will be, and we're just 12 singers.
Oh my God!
Singing Rent.
I'm flipping the F out. Second of all, are you Maureen? Who are you playing?
You gotta be Mark.
I'm Maureen. I'm Joanne. I am Mark. Especially after my turn, as you might remember, Seth, as Roger when I was 15 years old.
Wait, I didn't know about this.
In Rent.
Was that at French Woods? I can't remember. No, was it at Hillel?
Plaza Theatrical Productions. It was Plaza Theatrical Productions. I was a 15-year-old Roger in Rent School Edition. It was the most wild miscast ever. And Alex Maniello, who's playing Roger, has played Mark twice. So now we're like finally playing the roles we were meant to play, and we're playing them with each other. It's really, really exciting.
Wait, the Rent School Edition, is it like all cleaned up? So it's like, we are going to pay rent because it's not just like, what are they?
It's exactly the same, basically. It's just a little bit easier. Contact is the big cut. Contact is the only thing that's like in full cut. And then there's just like little abbreviations here and there. But it's basically the full show.
Bravo. How's the voce? Doing all this damn singing.
Tired.
What's the hardest song?
It's tired. It is. It's honestly, because there's only 12 of us, it's mostly the ensemble work. So it's like Christmas Bells is hard. Like most of my solo stuff is doable, and it's mostly just telling a story. It's all the choir stuff. That Seasons of Love is a hard song to sing if you're doing it right. Like if you're doing it right, it should be that like everybody's stretching their voices a little bit. Otherwise it just kind of like falls.
I agree.
And so it's just tiring, but these have been long, and it's not gonna be as long as we get to DC because then we'll just be doing the show.
So
I'm really excited.
It's Since it's in concert, are you doing any of the talking? Are you doing any of the scenes? Or is it just song after song?
It's a lot of scenes. Not a lot of scenes. Some of them are cut. It's a slightly shortened version for the sake of just the like orchestra rules. So like the voicemails are cut, most of them, and a couple of scenes here and there. But it still really works. I'm kind of amazed at how well the cuts still work. It's not quite, the fullest of Rent, but it's Rent in concert.
Wait, does Harvard know you're there, or are you cutting? Is this like all a secret and I can't say anything to your professor?
I haven't been to Harvard since fall of 2021, so...
Okay, young man, my one dream is for you to go to an Ivy League school. This is how you repay me.
Well, it happened. You did go.
Oh, that's just true. Are you gonna go back to here, or are you just gonna be in college?
I am. No, I am. I do want to go back. I do plan on going back. Finishing is like a larger stretch of time that I can't quite predict, but I do really want to go back.
It's also a movie star now, but we can talk about that.
I know, you're so famous, I can't take it. Somebody is waiting. Oh, good. Bye, Andrew! Okay, so Zoom Master, Marissa Minoker? No, there wasn't. She had to add a Jarrett. Marissa, why the pretentious Jarrett? There she is. Hi, Marissa. The hair looks amazing. First of all, the hair looks amazing. Yeah, how much of it is real? Go.
Not very much.
Cool.
Not very much. I mean, even on a road trip, I wear fake hair. Come on now.
I love it.
Thank you. I did three names because, oh my gosh, the air down and play so loud. Because I actually wanted to maybe change my name to Jarrett Winokur. I thought that sounded cooler.
It does.
But I panicked and I couldn't decide. So at the moment, I just said, I'll just be Marissa Jarrett Winokur, so that if I ever went by Jarrett Winokur, it would change and nobody would question it. But then I got too famous too fast. Like, yeah, so how do people know?
First, you're hilarious.
I just did it.
Second of all, can you just tell everybody, for anyone that's sort of struggling out there, how the hell do you do a workshop for hairspray while literally receiving cancer treatments? How do you disassociate? How did you do it? And your son listening, he's like, what are you talking about? That's like not a big reveal. Is that there or something?
No, I'm alone. They left me on the side of the road and they're eating lunch.
Cool.
Which, by the way, I dealt with them stopping and eating lunch without me worse than I dealt with cancer. Yeah.
You were that angry. That is
I was that angry that they left me. I'm like, what is happening right now? Can't you guys just wait 10 minutes? But they didn't. They totally did. So just FYI, I totally dealt with cancer better than I dealt with missing lunch right now. It's a sad true story. You know what? It was like yes, for anyone out there who's dealing with anything stressful, all of a sudden you're like missing lunch. No, you're basically. You know what? For me, it was like at the end of the light that they have the tunnel for me with hairspray. So I just kept dealing with cancer, which seems so surreal now, so many years later. But I would sing the whole show. I would be doing treatments, or I'd be in an MRI, or I would be dealing with really bad news, because I'm like, I'm just gonna go from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, and then I'll do it again, and then eventually I'm gonna get done with this, and then I opened and I didn't even tell anybody, because I was like, I'm just gonna deal with this on my own. It's kind of like that thing you gotta look for, what's coming up, that's something to look forward to. I always say to, my son or my friends who are, going through something stressful, I'm like, let's just get to Thanksgiving, let's just get to Easter, it's such a good choose, let's just get to Easter, but it's true, it's just you kind of can't think about, a lot of people are, deal with today, don't worry about tomorrow, but I kind of always vision, what's the next exciting thing to, get focus on for me.
Marissa, that is so me. I'm obsessed with that. Second of all, I want to ask you, people always talk about when I did the Legally Blonde show, and I was, I did that reality show, and I made all those ladies sing on the bike. That was based on you. You told me that idea, so talk about why I was inspired. What did you do?
Well, I was trying to get my stamina up for singing. I Can Hear the Bells was actually the one that actually tripped me up by breathing in that one. You would think it was You Can't Stop the Beat, but it actually was I Can Hear the Bells, because it was not as insane. Here we go, balls to walls, So I would get on the treadmill every day, and I would get on the treadmill and walk and sing I Can Hear the Bells while I was walking. Then I would run and sing I Can Hear the Bells. So it was literally, I had a roommate at the time, and she was like, every morning she'd hear, thump, 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 thump. I can hear the bells, thump, thump. And I would just do it until I could jog and sing the whole song. Because it's kind of like, I guess if you're playing tennis, if you're holding like a weighted tennis racket. For me, it was like, if I can run and sing it, then I'll be able to like, stand there and sing it.
Not great advice, that's for all you actors out there. Well, wait, you look amazing. Is that a youthful filter on your phone, or that's just your face?
No, it's just my face! Thank you.
Look amazing.
Like, oh hi, California.
You're so pretty. Beth Lovell showed us her Tony. Can you please tell everybody how you set your Tony up in your house?
Now or when I first got it?
When you first got it, you know what I'm talking about, a certain light.
Yeah, I had a clap-on light, so I could clap on. This is like old school. I had a little long ago. I won my Tony. My Tony, like, yeah, it was. I got a house and I had a little shelf and I put a clap-on light above my Tony all over it, so I could like walk in and clap, and it would light up my wall.
I love stories of what you were doing. It's great. It's great.
Melissa, you want to ask?
I moved to like the back guest room, back room, until like one of my like favorite days came over. I was like, get this in the front of your house. What are you doing? I was like, I thought it was like a fun little like secret guest room, bathroom thing. It was like, I don't think that's good feng shui having your Tony above the toilet. I was like, you're probably right. It's like,
Speaking of guests, did you ever get rid of that effing bed you made me sleep on that literally threw my back out?
you know what? Here's the good news about that bed. That couch, which was a couch. You've had so much play on it that I almost think that it's worth the money I spent on it, because you literally used that your poor unfortunate back story.
It was not a bed. It was just like a lump of fabric in an oval.
Did you poor thing? Did you and your family move to a millionaire's house? Did you all get taken care of after?
Yeah, we did have to go to a much richer person's house after staying there. That's completely true. Yeah, but wait, didn't you say Matt Morrison's up there and he was like, my body feels amazing? That's because he's muscular. I don't have this kind of a body. I need firmness because I'm covered in fat. He's so muscular, he can just literally put his body, like in a full split, he's a dancer.
Maybe you're like the middle, because I was fine too, because I got so much more fat, so it was like hard to cushion. It's like you were like the Goldilocks, you had to find the exact right fat.
Okay, we're just two complaining Jews. Marissa, we love you. We want you back on Broadway. Say hi to everybody in your family. She brought up is Christina Phantom of the Opera in Las Vegas, and they sassed up the set, and they had all these trapdoors. So there would be like a lot of really cool things that would come up on the set. So one day, all the trapdoors malfunctioned, and they lowered. So someone in the wing said to her, don't go on stage, every single trapdoor is open. Just kidding. The person said, watch out for holes. So she thought it was like, break a leg. So she's like, okay, cool. Like she didn't know what does watch out for holes mean? She thought it was like an old 40s expression. Watch out for holes. You too. So it was the part where she runs out and she's like, have you lowered yourself at last and lost for blood? So she runs out and immediately falls through trapdoor. But her wedding dress stopped her, so just basically her face fell on the lip of the trapdoor, which knocked her tooth out. Yeah, but typical, like every actor, we all think it's brain surgery, like we can't possibly stop for any reason, so she's like, show must go on. So she's through the trapdoor, tooth is out, bleeding, and she's like, have you gorged yourself and you lost for blood? And she said the Phantom looked at her and almost vomited. And she's like, when the Phantom thinks you're ugly, there's something. So show stopped, missed the tooth, and she got it replaced. And as you know, she looks stunning now. And she said, if you're gonna have cosmetic surgery, the place to be is Las Vegas. So she literally had like the most amazing, so you can't see anything, but she literally knocked it. Watch out for holes. Oh my God, I can't tell.
Our next.
Oh, we do? Okay, so hold on. I'm gonna do my signature reveal. Oh, this is so exciting. Okay, I still remember this. I was doing this play that I wrote called Rhapsody and Seth. Oh, thank you. Off Broadway, and I was collecting money for Broadway Cares 75 days, and on the way out, this guy was like, I just heard this new album of more Yeston songs, and you're gonna be obsessed with this woman. And he told me her name, and her name stayed in my head. And then when I finally heard her live, I became obsessed. She starred on Broadway playing Queens. No. Playing Bronx. No. Playing Brooklyn. The amazing Idina Menzel is here to chat with you. One of the most amazing singers. Hi, Eve!
Hi!
You look so. Is that real or is that Marissa Jarvinook or fall?
It's real!
Okay, You look amazing. You told me that you were just, where in Williamstown? What were you doing?
I was in Williamstown and now I came back for the day off. So I just got home a couple hours ago, but I'm doing the weekly cabaret there. Yeah, every week's a new show. We're there for 3 weeks with Joel Wagner and Audra McDonald.
Oh my God,
Lots of people.
Wait, what have your songs been? What have you been singing?
Well, we just did 1 week, and I sang Sweet Child of Mine. I sang a song called Hanging On by this independent artist named Heather Maloney.
Where is the Broadway? Keep going. I've never heard less Broadway.
I sang Happy Days Are Here Again.
Close enough.
With John Michael Reese. So yeah, it's more eclectic than just Broadway, but that's the Broadway.
Sounds actually more non-Broadway than Broadway, but I like your version of calling it eclectic. Idina, I just saw, like, all my friends are in this new musical, directed and choreographed and based on her life by the brilliant Graziella Danielle, and it's finally coming to Broadway, coming to Lincoln Center. Are you flipping the H out? Describe what the show is. It's called Gardens of Annuncia, right?
Yes, it's called Gardens of Annuncia, and it's based on Graziella's life and the women that raised her, which were her mother and her aunt. Yeah, it's a beautiful, lush garden that we get to play in. Michael John just writes women so beautifully, and his music is so rich and haunting, and I would follow him anywhere. We did it at the Old Globe 2 years ago, and all of us just wanted New York to be able to witness this piece and get to know where Grazie came from and what made her her. So it's all about how she first started dancing, lessons that her aunt taught her, that her mom taught her. It's a beautiful piece, and we are excited to bring it to Lincoln Center.
Who do you play?
I play her mother.
Oh, and Andrea Burns plays her aunt?
Yes.
Oh my God. And Mary Tess is in it. It's gonna be amazing. I have a Grazie story to tell you before you go. Please remind me. But of course, we have to go back for a second. So, Wicked. You have this freak-ass voice. Everyone that's done Wicked has been like, well, it was written for Idina, so it was always really difficult for me. You're sort of like, why isn't it up 3 steps? I feel like you're the only one that was like, shrug. Like, why was this so easy for you?
Well, certain songs were easier than others. Like, Wizard and I was like the hardest song in the whole score for me, because it sat right in my break, where it's like, it sat in Idina's sweet spot, but it was like a very difficult song for me to sing, which is why I came up with like alternate things I never felt.
Yes, we.
Like the alternates on No Good Deed were because those particular moments like sat in a very like difficult place for me.
Wait, those alternates paid off for the audience. I thought you like, this is easier. We're like, it's actually more amazing. Bravo! Keep giving me alternates. Gosh, darn it.
Yes.
Okay, Espinosiak, I'm telling you this Grazie story that you can tell Grazie. I interviewed her, you know, Grazie, she's from Argentina. If you don't know, it's Graziella Danielle, the choreographer at that time. She was the original Not Guilty in Chicago. So she talks like this. She goes, okay, Seth, she goes, I'm doing follies and I am the tango dancer. And unfortunately, I had been cast in another show. This is the end of my run, so I wasn't fully concentrating. So I'm in my dressing room and I hear bum bum bum, and it's the entrance for the tango. So I run downstairs and I start telling my tango partner, here's what we can do. And I'm describing how we can come on late to the stage and we'll be able to save it because we miss our entrance, but we can save it. And he finally goes, Graziella, be quiet, you're speaking Spanish. She really panicked that she was just telling him everything. He was like, what are you saying?
I love that so much.
God, I love her.
She is a gem.
How high do you belt in Gardens of Annuncia? That'll decide if I'm getting a ticket or not. Go.
Oh, I think I pop up to either an E or an F.
Okay, I'll be there first video. Idina Menzel, we love you. Bye. Okay, now, wow, this is really fun. Now I'm bringing on, I mean, these are really all my friends. He is one of my longest term friends that I've probably known, probably the longest I've been in New York, because I met him right after I graduated college. He is a trailblazer. I always say, not only one of the best voices on Broadway ever, but kind of one of the best voices in the world ever, and I really do stand by that. And then the handsomeness is really annoying. So please welcome, we can just bring him on the Zoom and then everyone will see who he is. The amazing Norm, your mic is off. never sounded better. Oh, hi, now you're back.
Hi.
Hi,
Sorry.
Marty.
I'm sorry I didn't shave. I'm here in California right now.
Always looking cute. Normally, I just said you were a trailblazer. Well, first of all, we'll talk later about the show that we did together, but you are a trailblazer. The first Black Phantom on Broadway, Robert Keown did it out of town, but first Black Phantom on Broadway. How the hell did you get that, and how much did you have to fight for it? Go.
There were several people I had to sleep with. No, that's
Yes!
No, it was one of those things. I saw it the first time. I saw clips of Robert Keown, so it gave me hope that maybe I could do it. But he was a star, so I was like, ugh. And then TV star. And I finally saw the show live in 1994 up in Toronto with Coleman Wilkerson, and was blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is what everybody's talking about. And for 20 years, I kept saying to myself and saying to other people that I want to be in the show. Wishing it was the Phantom itself, but I'm going to take it any part. Christine, maybe? And,
you got an amazing soprano. You're summertime. Hit it.
Anyway, and cut. But yeah, 20 years later, I kept putting it out in the universe, and finally, I would have to give homage to my friend, my brother, Hugh Pinero, who decided not to renew, and it opened that door up and that window, and that's what happened. I got in.
But it's one of those things like never meet your idols or heroes. Like, because when you finally did it, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that it's not what I thought it was going to be, or was it what you thought it was going to be?
No, it's probably, I will say that it was everything that I thought it was going to be, but even more so. It's funny because I'm not on stage that much as the Phantom. There's like, he has some of maybe the least amount of time, like 25 to 30 minutes on stage, but there's a lot of backstage that people don't get to see, climbing up ladders and taking many stairs to get to the angel and all this stuff, and waiting in the angel very tightly. And it took a toll, but I will say, physically, emotionally, it was one of the hardest shows I've ever done because it was so iconic. People had a perceived notion of how it should sound. I don't sound like Michael Crawford, but I tried to do my best of what I could do. And and the show, the music is very lush, and your voice is exposed. So, when I did Porgy and Bess, I was getting the same notes, but as a beggar, I could get away with a growly, gravelly voice. But in Phantom of the Opera, no, you had to be pure.
You can't be Satchmo, like a man beyond express. By the way, I go wrestling Satchmo. Did you see that?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that because he's fantastic. So.
And on a total side note, related because we did Dreamgirls together, when Roz Ryan played Effie, she did so much growling that Michael Bennett's nickname for her was Satchmo. Did you know that?
I don't know if you knew that.
Can you imagine? This is impressive. Norm, please tell everybody how we met, because I said I've known you the longest of I think anyone on Broadway in New York.
So back in 1989, I was fresh and new to the theater scene in New York, and I went to every audition I could just go to. I was like green, very green. I didn't major in musical theater or anything like that. I majored in economics. So I was trying this world, and I just said, I'm going to go for everything. And I ended up going to this audition for the Candlewood Playhouse, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor, blah, blah, blah. And so in I walked with some sheet music that was SATB.
It was from his high school chorus. It was like divided SATB from choir practice. Go on!
And Seth was the musical director of that show, and he looked at me, he was like, what the he didn't say F, but he said, what the hell is this? And I said, well, it's all I have. And so he said, okay. Like, it was very reluctant. He just thought, like, kind of like Simon when he hears maybe someone like Susan Boyle, that's the way he said looked at me. And then all of a sudden I started singing Before the Parade Passes By.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he looked up and he was like, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. And luckily, I have to give honor to Seth. He hired me, gave me my first job in this world, and believed me enough to
He's amazing.
I know, but still, you gave me a couple of solos, which, I couldn't have asked, I couldn't have even begged for that. It was part union and part non-union. I was part of the non-union cast, and he gave me some solo work, which was fantastic.
I saw you in Sweeney Todd a long time ago.
Which one?
Virginia, I believe, in
Yeah,
like the
Virginia.
late 90s. My friend Arjuna, who I go to all theater with, was sitting next to me. We were in the front row. It was a very small theater. If you ever want to be scared out of your mind, go to Sweeney Todd in a very small theater.
Norm was scary as the sweetest person.
He was so scared. He walked up to my friend Arjuna and grabbed him by the neck and said, "You want to shave?" and put the razor right on his neck. It was terrifying.
No, stop giggling. You're mean. I had no idea.
Signature theater. I'll never, ever forget that moment. I know he's nodding in the audience, but my friend that you scared is here also.
Oh, awesome.
Norm, I'm so happy that you're touring with Soldier's Play, but I'm devastated they're not doing a musical. Is there any musical that you can come back to Broadway with?
Listen, I'm a man of a certain age now, so I've kind of aged out of a lot of the, the leading roles of the old Broadway stuff. But maybe there might be some new things coming on the horizon. I'm looking forward to that.
Please, so fun, just all nice Broadway people. Sorry, signers, that I speak so fast. You still got it.
You can't pick them up.
You guys should have switched halfway through to give her a break. It's so mean you made it do all me. Can we gender fluid this and she can take over a little bit? Here, do you want to do me? 1, 2, 3, you go. Okay, so now she's talking to me. So, when I was saying, okay, part of me is everybody here, because everybody's here with the just
Somebody just lip synced that for our lip sync competition, and we didn't give them the right one. It was supposed to be OBC, and it was the most recent one.
No,
I know. It was a total mess up, totally our bad. And she went with it. She on the fly with dialogue and everything. She knew what she was doing. She won, obviously.
I was saying I could do the OBC. All right, so wait, we have 2 minutes left. So before we go, any famous people want to hear a story about? Son Foster. Okay, I will tell Son Foster story. I'll tell 2. So my first one is, so I've known, so we did Grease together. Well, P.S. if you don't know, she's Hunter's brother, and I was doing Grease on Broadway with Hunter, and then they asked me to go play piano in Wilmington, Delaware, and I was in the orchestra pit, and when you play in pits, oftentimes you have headphones, and you can adjust what you listen to, so, a lot of people are like, I want more drums, I want more bass, but I was always like, I want more vocals, so I turned, just because I love hearing singers, and I was like, who is that Sandy? She's effing amazing. And it was something like, that's Hunter's sister, she's so good. So then she came to Broadway, she did it for a couple of weeks, everyone called her, she was so funny, she was the Carol Burnett Sandy, because she was so hilarious. And we became pals. End of the story, she was offered Eponine on Broadway. By the way, I think I put this book in, this story in my book, Musical Theater for Dummies, now on sale. But anyway, I put this story in because it's true. She's offered Eponine on Broadway, and she'd done the tour. And her agent called her, and he was like, I know you're up for this other musical, but they only offered you the chorus, so you should do Eponine and Les Mis. And it was more money than she'd ever made in her entire career. And she was like, no, she goes, I'd rather do something new. I'll take the out-of-town gig. And he's like, no. So you understand, he's like, this is Les Mis, it's a hit show, it's a lead role, and it's tons of money. And she's like, I already played Eponine. She's like, I want to be part of a new project in the ensemble. And as you know, the end of the story was, it was Thoroughly Modern Millie, and she became the lead because they got rid of the leading lady. She took over the lead and won the Tony Award. But the only reason she took it was not thinking, I'll be the lead. She literally was like, I wanted to chorus in something new, and she turned down a lead on Broadway. So I just love that. Everyone needs to follow their art and not like where the money is, and follow your own heart. So I love that. Like Liz Calloway said, Joanne Moreland told her all her. And
over and over and over again on panels all weekend. Stories like that.
Really?
Like, I needed to be in the theater. This guy told me no, so I wrote to Hal Prince, and Hal Prince called me up. It's stories like that all the time.
I mean, I'll tell one more, and then I'll tell my final Seth Rudetsky story. But Terrence Mann, he really wanted to be, well, he was told he was right for Javert in Les Mis. I mean, his friends had seen it, he listened to the album, but he just done Rum Tum Tugger in Cats. So he was like, young and sexy. So the casting people were like, oh, you should be Enjolras, the super revolutionary. And he was like, I want to be Javert. And they were like, you're wrong for Javert. You're young and sexy. You need to be Enjolras. That's the only audition we're going to grant you. And he was like, all right. So he went to the Enjolras audition, but as Javert. He said he wore a black suit, he slicked back his hair, and he sang that song, In the Port of Amsterdam, from Jacques Brel. And he said he literally saw Claude Michel Schoenberg and Alan Boublil look at each other, look down at his photo, and whisper, Enjolras, shake their head, and they go, Javert. He literally manipulated his way in because he knew that's what he was supposed to do. You've got to follow your heart. And the last thing I'll say is you also have to force people to do what you want them to do. And I was mad at Seth Foster for not belting. So she's doing Thoroughly Modern Millie. I knew that she was going to be done, she was always doing my comedy, she was belting E flats, and then Millie, she's like, oh, I'm belting a C. And I'm like, girl, a C is not your high note. Why are you not belting high anymore? What's happening? So I was so annoyed at her. I was like, take it up. So cut to, she calls me, and I saved this message. It's on like my PC, like before I even had a Mac, because it was so many years ago. It was during Little Women, and she leaves with this message. She's like, Seth, it's Sutton. I'm doing Little Women rehearsals, and I just rehearsed Astonishing. I'm belting an E flat. I'm back. I loved it. So my point is, you've got to force people to do what you want them to do. All right. In conclusion, can we all thank Melissa for running this amazing?